Hey guys, Jeremiah Boucher, Patriot Holdings. That's my company. I have a storage brand that we own. It's called All Purpose Storage. So the purpose of this lesson is how to find a good storage investment or a good storage location. So number one, storage is boiled down to price and convenience. So people, when they're moving, when their kids are moving, when they need to just store extra cars or they're relocating, they have to find a place quickly and now. So when they call a storage company, they're asking for two things. One, what's the price? And then they're looking at how far it is away from them where they have to travel. So when you're analyzing a location, number one, you want to make sure there's density. Now, what I mean by density is you need population around you. So we typically look at the 1, the 3, and the 5 miles around us. Sometimes if we're out in more suburban areas or more in rural locations, we'll even go 10 miles out to look at the population. But what we're looking at is at least 10,000 people within your 1 mile, 30,000 people within the 3 mile, and 50,000 people within the 5 mile. That's ideal. Like if you can get that, then you have enough people in the area that you know you're going to have customers that are going to fill your storage location. So secondly, you want to look at competition. So what is the competition around you? Do you have a lot of new, bigger facilities that are out there, like public REITs? Those are the extra space storages, the public storages. Or do you have a lot of smaller mom and pops, meaning small business owner, one-off storage owners like Bob Storage or some local brand? And then you want to look at what's the quality of these facilities. Do they have gravel? Is it poorly lit? No fence? Is it a place that looks a little scary from the outside? Or is it a high quality professional location that has cameras, it's well lit, it's safe, it's secure? Those locations are going to be able to command a higher price, and those are going to keep the rates higher in that market. The other types of facilities are going to keep rates pretty low, but when you come in there and if you buy an asset and you can improve it, what we want to do, we add value to these storage facilities. You want to find a facility that's not in perfect condition ideally, but you want to find it where you can possibly, add better lighting, add paving, you can paint it, you're going to clean it up, put in security cameras, put in gates, and then you're going to be able to raise your rates. And once you look at the different rates in the market, you don't want to be the lowest rates in the market. You want to raise the rates so that you are a good quality product, one of the nicer ones in the area, and you want to be near the higher end. That's the type of customers that we want to attract, and that's going to give you the highest return on your investment. So number one, you're looking at density, how many people are in the area, and then competition. And we look at a formula. It's a very simple supply and demand formula where you look at how many people are within your 3 or 5 mile area, and then add up all the different storage facilities in that area and total up the total square footage, and you want to find out how many square feet per person is there in that market. And if there's more than 7 or 8 square feet per person in that market, then you probably need to be a little careful to build more, or you're going to know that that market has a lot of competition. Now, some markets are different down south, or if you have lots of apartments and it's heavily dense and there's small housing units, maybe each person in that market needs an average of 10 or 11 square feet per person. But the point is, you want to make sure there's not 20 or 30 square feet per person. That means there's a ton of storage facilities within a small area of people. You're going to have too much supply, and you're never going to be able to fill up your facility, and you're not going to be able to turn a profit. You're always going to be trying to generate new customers. So what's a great storage site? Well, ideally, you want to be around a lot of population, and then also you want to be on a good traffic area. You want to be on a road that has high traffic counts. Now, you can go on your local Department of Transportation website, and you can find out what are the traffic counts in this area. You typically want 15 to 20,000 cars a day driving by, seeing your sign or seeing the doors. That way people know where you're at. Now, ideally, if you're near a Walmart or if you're near some of the other big retailers in the area on a main thoroughfare, or you're off an interstate exit or people can see you off the highway, those are the best locations. I mean, it is true now people are going to find you through Google and you're going to find you through online advertising, and that's terrific, but location is still imperative. People really want ease of access to get there, and then as people continue to build, you still want that site that's in the heart of town or right off the heart of an exit or off the highway where people will know, hey, that's easy to get to, I'll buy it anyway. You're going to keep your facility full. All right, so the next important thing when looking for a storage location or buying a storage facility, you want to make sure there's high rates in that market. Now, I can't tell you how important this is. If you're in the middle of a small town in Wisconsin and you can only get $50 for a 10 by 10 unit, that is very, very hard to make a profit if you're going to build more storage or if you have to buy it at any type of decent price. So I really suggest stay at markets where you can have your rates, where the market rents for a 10 by 10 unit are at least $100 a month. I can't tell you how important that is because you cannot make money if you cannot raise your rents. I bought a storage facility in northern Nevada. It was in this little town called Winnemucca, and I could only charge $55 for a 10 by 10. And I tried to raise my rents, and this old man that had a huge facility and a lot of extra land, he kept building and building and building, and he kept adding more units, and he didn't care if he ever turned a profit. He enjoyed the business and had fun with it, and he didn't owe anything on it, and he never raised his rents. So anytime anyone in that whole town of 30,000 or 25,000 people, they needed storage, they went to him because he always had the lowest rents and he had a brand new facility. Please look for markets that you can charge $100 or more for your 10 by 10 for the market rent. So that equates to at least $10 to $12 in annual rent per square foot. And we're going to get into this. So we always measure revenue by revenue per square foot. So that means that every square foot that you have in your facility, you can charge at least $10 annually for it, and up to $12 or $13 is ideal. So you don't want markets where you're charging $5 or $6 per square foot. You just cannot turn a profit. So the next point about finding a good storage site or buying in a good market is barriers to entry. So in the story I just alluded to, where the older man kept building and building and building, and there was no restrictions on how much storage he could build, you don't want to go in markets where there's no barriers to entry. Like Warren Buffett says, you want an economic moat around your business. So what does that mean? It means if you're in a location and there's very little land around you that's zoned for storage, or if towns are very strict on allowing storage development, you want to be in those markets. If you can buy a storage in that market and very little new development will come there, you will always have the economic advantage or the edge in that marketplace because no one else can come in and undercut you on your price. Also, when you're building a site, if you're looking in locations where there's very little flat land or land's very expensive, you get a good location that's reasonably priced and it's zoned for storage, then you will be able to have a nice new facility and other people can't build in that market. So I highly suggest looking for barriers to entry. Certain markets in the past, like Texas or Oklahoma or Louisiana, it was very easy to build. I was very cautious of those markets because anyone can put up a storage at any given time. In the markets that I invest in the Northeast, like New York and Vermont, it's very challenging to build. So I like those markets where no new competitor can come in and dilute or flood the supply of storage, dropping our price or lowering our occupancy because someone else took our tenants. So when you're starting out and you're looking to buy an existing storage facility, or if you want to build a facility, sometimes you're not going to find land that's in the heart of a booming market, right? It's going to be really expensive. It's going to be very competitive. You probably won't have the zoning for storage. And I highly suggest do not try to rezone the piece of land to a storage use. So if it's a residential use, or if it's for office or for multifamily, and you're trying to get it zoned for storage, it's a very challenging and a political process that I advise you not to do that on your first project. So when you are looking for land, I suggest finding suburban or more rural, or they call them tertiary markets, where you might not have a ton of population, but due to COVID, a lot of people move to smaller towns. Of course, you want nice retail trade in that area where you have the Walmarts and you have the Targets and you have all the fast food chains up and down your major thoroughfares. What I would look for is finding sites near those trade areas. So if you're in a smaller town, but you're near the Walmart, like I had a successful site I bought in New Hampshire where it was a small town, but the adjoining town didn't allow Walmart, and it was in Vermont, and a lot of people had to drive to this town in New Hampshire to go to the Walmart. Everyone had to drive by the facility, and that allowed me to get a lot of customers where the population wasn't high, but at least it had a lot of traffic, and that traffic did expose the facility to customers, and it ended up filling up, and I expanded it 3 times based on very little population. So look for sites that are near Tractor Supply, Dollar General, Walmart. Those are great sites because that creates at least enough visibility and traffic where you can typically buy the land at a fair price, and it will be zoned commercial normally if it's adjoining or near those other big retailers, and you'll have customers. Keep listening to the videos. I'm going to keep sharing better advice, and I'll break it down even in more detail so that it really makes sense. But this is the start to the process. So thanks for listening.